Hello everyone. If you love heartwarming animal stories and want to follow the inspiring journey of these adorable friends, don't forget to hit the subscribe button now so you won't miss any of our videos. Now, let's dive into today's emotional story. Sarah's birth was anything but ordinary. From the moment she entered the world, her life was marked by challenges. Born with a serious heart condition, doctors told her parents, Kate and Mark, that their newborn would need constant monitoring, multiple visits to the hospital, and possibly lifelong medical treatment. Every day, they watched their little girl with hope, but also with worry, knowing that her future was uncertain. The doctors had spoken with cold precision, explaining the necessary steps for Sarah's care, but nothing could fully prepare Kate and Mark for the fear that came with raising a child with such a fragile heart. Her cries, once a comforting sound of a newborn, now carried a weight that only heightened their anxiety. She was a fighter, but her parents feared that her condition would prevent her from leading a normal life. Every little movement was watched, every small cough made them jump. They wanted her to grow up like any other child, to experience life fully, but with her health issues, it felt like that dream was slipping further away. It wasn't just the doctors that gave them a sense of dread. It was the constant reminders from Sarah's hospital stays, the beeping monitors, the sterile smell of disinfectant that now clung to her like a heavy cloak. Kate and Mark, though dedicated and loving parents, felt powerless. They tried their best to create a safe environment for Sarah, but something was missing. Then, one quiet evening, as they sat in the living room after a particularly grueling day of care, Mark brought up an idea he'd been mulling over for some time. "What do you think about getting a dog? A puppy?" Kate looked up, startled. A dog? It seemed like a strange suggestion, but there was a glimmer of hope in Mark's eyes. He wasn't just thinking about getting a pet, he was thinking about bringing something, or someone, into their home who could bring comfort and healing to their precious daughter. Kate was hesitant at first. The thought of another responsibility when they were already stretched so thin seemed overwhelming. But then, she thought of the joy pets could bring to children, how a dog might help Sarah connect with life in a different way, and how a puppy could offer the love and companionship Sarah so desperately needed. A few weeks later, after some research and soul-searching, they found the perfect puppy at a local rescue shelter. Max was a small, playful golden retriever mix with bright, inquisitive eyes. Despite his small size, there was something about him that made Sarah's parents feel like he was the right one for them. They brought him home that very day. From the first moment Max stepped into their home, it was as though something shifted. He wasn't a miracle, but his presence brought a sense of calm that Sarah's parents hadn't realized they'd been craving. Max was gentle, curious, and had a natural empathy that seemed to connect immediately with Sarah. It wasn't long before Sarah and Max formed an unspoken bond. Every evening, while Sarah lay in her crib, Max would sit patiently at the edge, watching over her. His presence was a comforting constant, his soft eyes following her every move. When Sarah would begin to stir or cry, Max would nudge her gently, as if to say, "I'm here." The sight of Max by her side, calm and trusting, seemed to soothe Sarah in ways her parents couldn't. It was clear that Max wasn't just any dog. He had a unique way of sensing Sarah's emotions. Whenever she would become fussy or overwhelmed by her condition, Max would quietly lie next to her, offering a gentle touch. As if he understood her distress, he would nuzzle her gently, bringing a sense of peace that helped her settle down. Slowly, her cries became less frequent, and her time spent resting in her crib grew calmer. Max had become more than just a pet, he was her companion, her protector, her safe space. Kate and Mark watched in awe as their daughter began to show signs of emotional improvement. With Max by her side, Sarah began to show more engagement with the world around her. Her anxiety lessened, and she started to grow more comfortable with her environment. Max had become an integral part of Sarah's recovery process, providing her with an emotional anchor that helped her feel secure despite the physical challenges she faced. But it wasn't just Sarah who benefited from Max's presence. Kate and Mark began to notice how their own stress levels eased whenever they saw Sarah and Max together. Max's playful antics, like wagging his tail and gently pawing at Sarah's crib, would make the whole family smile. It was as though Max had brought a new light into their home, softening the heavy burden of worry that had been weighing them down for so long. As Sarah's first year passed, her health gradually improved. Her doctors were amazed at her progress, and though her condition remained, they were optimistic about her future. Max continued to be a steady presence in her life, offering love and comfort whenever it was needed. And through it all, Sarah's connection with Max deepened. She began to interact with him more, her tiny hands reaching out to pet his soft fur. She giggled when he licked her face, and her bright eyes would follow him as he trotted around the house. Slowly but surely, Sarah was growing stronger, not just physically, but emotionally, thanks to the healing companionship of Max. In the weeks that followed, Max became a constant presence in Sarah's life. His golden fur gleamed in the sunlight as he followed Sarah's parents around the house, watching them carefully as if understanding the gravity of the situation. He didn't yet know how much he would come to mean to Sarah, but his instinct to protect and care for others was clear from the start. Every day, as Sarah rested in her crib, Max would sit beside her, his head resting on the edge, his eyes never leaving her. He had a unique ability to sense Sarah's moods. When she cried, he would gently nudge her crib with his nose, as if trying to comfort her in the only way he knew how. At first, Sarah didn't respond much. Her cries were frequent, her tiny body so fragile and in pain, but she seemed to take comfort in Max's quiet presence. Slowly, over the course of weeks, Sarah's cries became less frequent, and her eyes, which had once looked fearful and uncertain, began to show a glimmer of something more: curiosity. Kate and Mark, though still anxious about their daughter's condition, began to notice a change. They saw that every time Max was near, Sarah seemed calmer, more at ease. When she started to make small cooing sounds, Max would respond with a soft bark or a tilt of his head, as if talking to her in a language she understood. Sometimes, when Sarah's condition seemed to overwhelm her, Max would lie down next to her, his warmth providing a much-needed sense of security. His soft presence felt like a blanket of calm, wrapping around the little girl who had been so frightened of the world outside her crib. Kate watched in awe one afternoon as Sarah, while still in her crib, began reaching out for Max. She had always been cautious, but today, there was a difference in her demeanor. Her tiny hand stretched toward him, and Max, sensing her need, carefully approached her, sitting at the edge of the crib and letting her tiny fingers touch his soft fur. It was a simple moment, but one that spoke volumes. Sarah, who had once seemed so distant and overwhelmed by her condition, was beginning to connect. She was finding comfort in the connection she shared with Max. Mark had always been a practical man, but even he couldn't deny the miracle unfolding before their eyes. He had never seen a dog so in tune with a child, so naturally able to provide the kind of emotional support Sarah needed. Max's presence was a balm to Sarah's spirit, and even as her parents grew more accustomed to their new reality, they knew that Max's role in Sarah's healing process could never be underestimated. As Sarah grew stronger, her ability to interact with the world around her blossomed. Each day, she gained a little more control over her limbs, responding to her environment in new ways. Max remained her constant companion, lying at her feet during therapy sessions, gently nudging her to keep trying when she grew frustrated. His love and support helped Sarah feel safe and encouraged, even on the difficult days when she didn't feel like moving or trying. With Max by her side, Sarah found the courage to continue pushing herself. One evening, as Sarah lay on her back on the living room floor, she let out a soft giggle as Max nudged a small stuffed bear in her direction. It was a simple game, one they had played many times before, but this time, Sarah's giggle sounded more joyful, more confident. Her parents watched, their hearts swelling with pride, as Sarah rolled over, reaching for the bear Max had nudged toward her. She was moving, responding, and her parents knew that this was just the beginning. Max had taught her that movement wasn't something to fear, it was something to embrace. And with every small victory, Max was there. When Sarah first began to sit up on her own, Max was by her side, his tail wagging in approval. When she took her first step, though it was shaky and uncertain, Max was right there to help steady her, his eyes full of admiration and support. Sarah's journey was far from easy, but with Max by her side, she began to feel capable, strong, and, most importantly, loved. Max had done more than just provide physical comfort. He had given Sarah the emotional support she needed to grow, to push through her doubts, and to believe in herself. His gentle presence had calmed her in ways no medical treatment ever could. He had become her friend, her protector, and her cheerleader, always encouraging her to take one more step, to try just a little harder, and to never give up. For Sarah's parents, it became clear that Max wasn't just a pet, he was an essential part of their family, and the bond he had formed with Sarah was nothing short of extraordinary. They had hoped that adopting Max would help their daughter feel more secure, but they hadn't realized the extent to which he would become the foundation of her emotional and physical healing. Max's love and loyalty were a constant reminder that sometimes, the best medicine came in the form of a furry companion who simply knew how to love without condition. Sarah's journey was far from over, but with Max by her side, her future seemed brighter than ever. Every day, she became stronger, more confident, and more connected to the world around her. And through it all, Max was there, offering his unwavering support and reminding Sarah, and her parents, that love, patience, and a little help from a devoted puppy could move mountains. As the months passed, Sarah's progress became more apparent, and with each passing day, Max's role in her healing journey grew more significant. Her small hands that once trembled when reaching for objects now reached out with more certainty, and her attempts to sit up became less wobbly. Max was always there, his warm presence providing comfort when the world felt too overwhelming for Sarah to navigate on her own. One chilly autumn afternoon, Kate and Mark sat in the living room, watching as Sarah, with Max by her side, took another step toward independence. Sarah had spent weeks working with her physical therapist, and today, she was determined to try standing up on her own. Max, ever loyal, was lying nearby, his eyes following her every movement. Sarah gripped the edge of the couch, trying to steady herself, her tiny body swaying, but she refused to give up. Max, sensing her determination, jumped up from the floor and padded over to her. His tail wagged as he nudged her hand with his nose, encouraging her to keep going. Sarah smiled, her heart filling with a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. With Max's encouragement, she took a step forward. Though shaky, the step was real. Mark and Kate exchanged glances, their eyes glistening with tears of pride. This was it, the moment they had been waiting for. Sarah wasn't alone in her struggle anymore. Max had become her partner in every sense of the word. Whether it was during her therapy sessions or simply navigating the challenges of the day, Max's presence gave her the strength to keep going. Each time Sarah was unsure or frightened, Max's gentle nudges reminded her that she could face her fears and grow stronger. Max's influence wasn't limited to physical progress. It extended to Sarah's emotional growth as well. Before Max's arrival, Sarah's world had been defined by fear and uncertainty. She had been scared of the unknown, of her medical condition, and of the limitations it imposed on her life. But Max, with his playful energy and unconditional love, helped her break free from the walls of doubt she had built around herself. He never judged her. Instead, he loved her for who she was, helping her feel valued and capable. One afternoon, as Sarah sat in the garden, trying to practice her balance with her parents nearby, Max trotted over to her with his favorite ball in his mouth. He nudged it toward her, tail wagging excitedly. Sarah's eyes lit up, and she slowly reached for the ball. With Max by her side, the simple act of playing together felt like a triumph. For the first time in months, she laughed, a soft giggle that seemed to fill the air with lightness. Her parents watched from the doorway, their hearts swelling with emotion. Max had not only taught Sarah to move, but he had also taught her how to enjoy life again. His playful antics brought joy into their home, and Sarah's laughter echoed through the house, a sound they had longed to hear. But despite the progress, there were still moments when Sarah felt frustrated and disheartened. There were days when standing seemed too difficult, when her legs refused to cooperate, and when the fear of failure crept back into her mind. During those times, Max was there, ever faithful. He would sit beside her, his body warm against hers, offering comfort without words. His presence alone was enough to remind her that it was okay to stumble, that falling was just a part of learning. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Sarah struggled to push herself up from her seat. Max, sensing her distress, trotted over and sat beside her, placing his head on her lap. Sarah stroked his soft fur, her fingers trembling slightly. She knew the road ahead would still be challenging, but she also knew that with Max by her side, she could handle whatever came her way. It wasn't just physical progress that marked Sarah's journey, it was emotional progress too. Through her bond with Max, Sarah learned to trust herself, her abilities, and the world around her. Max had become more than just a pet, he had become a teacher, a companion, and a symbol of hope. He had shown her that even when the road was tough, there was always someone to walk beside her, someone to help her rise again. And so, day by day, step by step, Sarah continued to grow stronger. She had found a new sense of purpose, one that was no longer defined by her disability, but by her ability to persevere. Max's love had not only healed her body, it had healed her spirit, teaching her that with the right support, she could accomplish anything. On Sarah's third birthday, Kate and Mark decided to throw a small celebration at home, inviting close family and friends to join them in the special day. The air was filled with laughter and excitement as Sarah's big moment approached. It was a milestone they had been waiting for, a day that would mark not just her birthday, but the incredible progress she had made over the past year. The room was decorated with balloons and colorful streamers, and Sarah was dressed in her favorite dress, a pink one with little flowers scattered across it. She was ready for the party, though in her usual quiet manner, a little nervous but eager. The cake was placed on the table in front of her, and as everyone sang "Happy Birthday," Sarah hesitated for a moment. Her eyes wandered to Max, who was sitting beside her, tail wagging excitedly, ready for the next step of their journey together. Sarah, still gaining strength, had learned to walk with Max by her side, and today was another significant step in that process. With a soft nudge from Max, she mustered all the courage she could and took a few hesitant steps forward, holding onto Max's collar for support. Max, always there for her, trotted alongside, his warm, comforting presence right by her side. "Go, Sarah," cheered Kate, her voice cracking slightly with emotion as she watched her daughter take those precious steps. Mark, too, had tears welling in his eyes as he stood beside Kate. For so long, they had worried about Sarah's future, unsure if she would ever be able to walk without assistance. But now, seeing her moving forward with the help of her faithful friend, they could see the fruits of their hard work, patience, and Max's unconditional love. Sarah, with Max's gentle guidance, reached her goal. Her small hand touched the cake with a triumphant smile. Everyone cheered in delight, their faces filled with happiness and pride. It was a moment of pure joy, a reflection of Sarah's resilience and the remarkable bond she had with Max. Through the toughest moments, when Sarah was still unable to walk or speak confidently, Max had been there, offering unwavering support and a gentle presence. It was no longer just about Sarah's progress. It was about how far they had both come together. As Sarah blew out the candles on her birthday cake, she was surrounded by her family, friends, and, most importantly, Max, her ever-loyal companion. The room echoed with laughter and applause, the sound of love filling every corner. Kate and Mark exchanged a look, their hearts full as they realized they had witnessed a miracle. The past 2 years had been challenging, but they had seen Sarah's strength grow every day. Max had been there, not just as a dog, but as a partner in Sarah's healing journey, providing the motivation, the joy, and the comfort she needed to face each new challenge. Max's presence had made all the difference. It wasn't just his playful antics or the way he nudged Sarah along when she was struggling. It was the simple, unspoken understanding he had with her. He knew when she was upset, when she needed reassurance, and when she just needed a moment of quiet companionship. Max had become a pillar of support, not just for Sarah, but for the entire family. His loyalty and his love had helped Sarah push through her fears and doubts, teaching her to trust herself and her body. And in turn, he had healed her heart and soul. In that moment, surrounded by love, laughter, and the warmth of family, it was clear to everyone that Sarah and Max had a bond that could never be broken. They had faced so much together, and now they were thriving. With Max by her side, Sarah's journey was just beginning. The future, once uncertain, now seemed full of endless possibilities. Kate and Mark knew that with patience, perseverance, and the love of a faithful friend, anything was possible. Together, Sarah and Max had proven that even the most daunting challenges could be overcome with love, support, and the unwavering presence of a friend. As they looked ahead to the future, they knew that no matter what came their way, they had each other, and with that, they could face anything. The joy of Sarah's 3rd birthday, the first in which she could walk on her own, symbolized the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. A chapter filled with hope, love, and the promise of endless possibilities. The story of Sarah and Max teaches us about the power of love and companionship in healing. Max, the puppy, showed us how animals can provide comfort, support, and inspiration in ways that humans